Hi, welcome back to Recap Cinema. Today I will continue talking about the next episodes of Silo. Jumping over the rail, Juliet lands heavily on one of the connecting bridges from the stairwell. Injured, she heads into the closest level with Sims and Billings in pursuit. But they don't find any trace of Juliet. Sims meets with Bernard and tells him that he is searching on the level apartment by apartment, but has to concede the possibility that Juliet made it off the level. Bernard lets Sims go as a small device with the number 18 on it starts to flash red. Billings rests in his apartment with his wife, Kathleen. They talk about his condition, and she wants him to think about their daughter and how she would feel growing up without a father if he is caught by the judicial. Billings resolves to make up for his mistake and heads out to find Juliet. Pete Nichols is treating a patient when judicial barges and asking where Juliet is. Pete tells that he has no idea because before this week, he had not seen her in 20 years. Camille and Anthony Sims head home when a judicial raider escort arrives sent by Robert. They'd want to search the home before Camille enters, but she refuses, stating she was a raider herself for 12 years and can look after herself. Entering, Camille finds that someone is in the apartment. Putting Anthony in his room, she pulls a gun and begins searching. In the bedroom, she finds a hard drive on the bed. Juliet appears behind her with a knife to her throat, telling Camille that she does not want to hurt her. Juliet makes Camille handcuff herself in the kitchen, then uses the Sims computer to access the hard drive. Billings arrives at the sheriff's apartment to try and find more about Juliet, but is turned away by the judicial team going over the place. In the Sims apartment, Camille tries to get information out of Juliet while secretly communicating with her son through the open door. Bernard contemplates the device in his hand when Sims reports that they have information that earlier Juliet sent a message to Lucas Kyle, who then went to Juliet's apartment. Billings waits for the judicial team to leave the apartment, then breaks in to conduct his investigation. He finds a shard of two-way mirror glass on the floor. Billings continues to search the apartment and finds the book. The hard drive finishes loading up on the Sims computer and Camille tries to unlock the cuffs without Juliet noticing. Lucas Kyle meets with Bernard Holland, who reveals that he knows exactly what went down in Juliet's apartment. Lucas failed to report the red level relic, and Bernard wonders what an appropriate punishment would be for his betrayal. Under questioning, Lucas reveals that the number 18 was on the drive. Quickly, Bernard and Sims enter the monitor room. They order to search the hard drive with serial number 18. The worker announces that he has found the hard drive in Sims' apartment. Juliet finds a file in the hard drive added there by George, a video file that he made using the video recorder. He tells her that people need to know the truth about what is on the drive. Camille tells her to stop and that the minute she connected the drive, Judicial knew where she was. As Judicial races to Sims' apartment, the monitor room notices that a large number of the cameras are going offline. At the apartment, Sims finds his family unharmed, but no sign of Juliet. Danny, a computer specialist, bluffs his way through judicial checkpoints to meet with Patrick Kennedy and Juliet. She needs his help and shows him the hard drive. He instantly recognizes it as George Wilkins. On the other hand, after reading the book, Billings places the book in the oven and turns it on, but not before tearing out a page for himself. Juliet needs Danny to help review the rest of George's video file without getting caught. George's video reveals two things. Firstly, he did initially plan to use Juliet for her knowledge and then leave her behind, but he truly fell in love with her. Secondly, he found the door he was looking for. It is down at the bottom where the water is, but the water is not an issue. He just can't get through the door. He also tells Juliet to look at the file named Jane Carmody Cleaning. She opens up the file and sees the outside world as green and lush. Juliet wants to put the image up on every computer throughout the silo. Danny says it is not impossible to do, but Bernard controls all the screens so they will have a very small time to do this. Juliet, Patrick, and Danny use the trash chute to escape the level, climbing down its interior. Sims receives a report that Billings attempted to enter Juliet's apartment and goes to see him. Billings tells Sims that he was trying to find out why Juliet wanted to go out. Sims wants to know if he found any insight and notices that Billings is holding his right hand and asks him why he is doing that. The trio emerges on level 126 and plugs the hard drive into a signal booster. It is immediately detected by the monitor room, and they realize that Julia is linking screens and the image of the outside goes on screens in the monitor room. The technicians are captivated by the image, but Bernard angrily tells them to turn away from the screens. He enters a command into the computers that shut down all the screens in the silo. Bernard orders all present that what they have seen they will unsee. Molly radios Sims and says she has two men in custody. Bernard realizes that Juliet is using the trash chute to move around. Karens warns Juliet to get out at the next hatch as they have orders to knock her out of the chute. Juliet is hit by falling machinery but holds onto the ladder. Another larger piece is put into the chute, so Juliet lets go and falls into the scavenger pit, where she lands relatively softly and is pulled out. Juliet is recovering in Martha's workshop with Shirley and Hank. Knox arrives and tells them the judicial is outside. Juliet agrees to get arrested and asks Knox to give a minute for her to talk with Martha. Bernard and Sims arrive, and after an angry exchange between Juliet and Sims, Bernard talks to her privately, smashes the hard drive, and offers a deal. To stop a potential rebellion and to avoid repercussions for her friends down deep, Juliet needs to stop saying she didn't want to go outside and waive her right to a judicial hearing. But Juliet wants to be told what happened to George. Bernard says he can do better than tell her. Juliet is led out of mechanical in shackles. Martha and Shirley talk, Shirley blaming Knox for snitching to judicial about Juliet. Martha tells her that Knox had no choice, but Shirley counters that they all have a choice. Juliet is led up the stairwell in full view of all the residents of the silo. In the down deep, Martha opens her door and leaves her workshop for the first time in 25 years. Scared and faltering at first, she gets stronger as she goes. As Juliet continues to climb the stairs, Martha goes to see Carla in supply, asking about the heat tape that Juliet stole earlier from Bernard. Carla says that Mechanical's heat tape is better than Bernard's. Martha agrees that it doesn't make any sense. On the stairs, Bernard orders Juliet's shackles unlocked and for the judicial escort to leave. Bernard and Sims take Juliet into the monitor room, which is a breach of protocol, but the mayor is making an exception for her before she is sent out to clean. Sims orders the surveillance footage of George Wilkins to be pulled up. Juliet watches as George, under arrest and escorted by Trumbull, stops under a camera he knows is there. He gets away from Trumbull and sits on the edge of the stairwell railing. Knowing that he would be taken in and tortured for information, George looks into the camera one last time and then jumps to his death. Juliet begins crying. Later, Juliet is measured for her containment suit. Bernard and Sims meet, commenting that it is quiet in the silo, and the last time it was like this was when Holston Becker went to clean. Pete visits Juliet, bringing food and asking why she asked to be sent out, wondering if it was something he could have prevented. Having made the deal with Bernard, Juliet can't tell him the reason and tells her father that he's a good cook. Lucas is brought before Bernard, who tells him that due to his cooperation, Juliet is under arrest. As his punishment for not reporting Juliet's actions earlier, Lucas is spared from being sent to clean, but is sentenced to 10 years in the mines. Shirley goes to see Juliet, bringing more food. Juliet isn't hungry, but Shirley insists that she takes the box, telling her Martha said to take it for luck. Understanding there is a double meaning to the words, Juliet takes the box of treats. Hiding the box from the camera, Juliet finds a message in the box from Martha. You wanted the truth. The truth is I love you. Have no fear. They're good in supply. Billings tells his wife that Sims knows he has the syndrome. Kathleen is worried about what that means, but Billings tells her not to worry since the mayor and judicial have exempted him. Bernard goes to see Juliet, asking her if she's sorry she took the job. He reveals that her parents were not meant to have children, but accidents happen. Bernard tells her that none of this is personal and that Juliet has been of great service to all the people. But once she became sheriff, she became a mortal threat to their survival. He equates his running of the silo to Juliet's job as an engineer, watching the pressure valves. Adjustments need to be made all the time to stop things from exploding. Juliet asks why they don't just tell people that the outside is safe and the displays are a lie, or about the metal door at the bottom of the silo. Bernard tells her that the founders left them many mysteries. Juliet's cleaning has attracted a record crowd, even larger than Holston's. Juliet tells Bernard she won't clean. Bernard says they all say that until they do. He hands her Holston's sheriff's badge, granting her last request. Juliet is prepared for her cleaning as the crowds gather in the cafeterias. Bernard in his office contemplates the shattered remains of the hard drive. Shirley gives Knox the cold shoulder for his actions. As Juliet is placed in the suit, heat tape is wrapped around her wrists to stop exposure. Martha arrives in the cafeteria to the surprise of the assembly. Bernard goes through the ceremony as well. Juliet goes through the airlock to the outside world and sees the bright green of the outside. However, having seen the recording from Jane Carmody's cleaning, she realizes it is the same scene down to the birds flying in the sky, and that the display in the visor is a lie. Walking up to the sensor, Juliet pulls out the cloth, holds it up to the camera, then drops it. The residents of the silo are shocked, and Sims asks Bernard what they do now. He tells him to wait since it won't be much longer before Juliet dies, knowing that she will not make it to the tree. Outside, Juliet stumbles and falls, and despite the display telling her that rocks and grass are in front of her, she knows that it should be Holston's body. Feeling around, her fingers penetrate the image, and she places her sheriff's badge on his body. Bernard realizes that she knows. Sims asks what she knows, but Bernard leaves the cafeteria. Outside, Juliet keeps walking for the hill, realizing that the heat tape wrapped around her wrists is from Mechanical, and is keeping the poison out. As she moves forward, the image in her display flickers and then ends, showing the world as it is, a barren wasteland with the ruins of a city in the distance. Turning back, she sees the sensor above the silo as it truly is as well. As Juliet walks, it becomes clear that the silo is not the only silo to exist. And that is the end of the first season of the show. The next season will air after another year. What do you think of the show? Tell us in the comments. Thank you for watching. Subscribe to the channel for more videos.